guys, how you doing? Rabea here. Hope you're all well. So for this video today, I just wanted to give you guys a few ideas, of mine, a few opinions about, you know, I suppose what it takes to be a guitarist in a band, or, you know, how to determine what to bring to a project as a musician, as a guitarist, drummer, you know, whatever it is. But let's focus on guitar, seeing as I'm surrounded by amps and I play guitar mainly and stuff like that. So, as you know, I played with Rob and Dorje, and now I'm playing with James Toseland, and those two projects have allowed me to play on massive stages in front of loads of people, which was always something that I've dreamt of doing. But at the same time, you know, you can be like, you think to yourself when you're off stage looking at an audience, a massive audience, that I'm worried, how's it gonna pan out? What if I make a mistake? What if my guitar or my string breaks? You know, all that kind of thing. Bear in mind is if you use Floyd Rose guitars and the string breaks, that whole guitar is done. You can't carry on with it because all the strings will be out of tune, unless you use a tremolo note. But like me, I use my whammy bar for plenty of stuff within a set. So if my string goes, I can't carry on playing it, so I have to change out the guitar real fast. So a few tips on that and how to do that. Really, it's just a kind of some tips of mine that have definitely helped me out with some of the gigs that I've done in the last few years. So on the subject of pedal boards, you know, it might not always be necessary to have loads of pedals for the gig that you're doing. For instance, if you're doing a classic rock kind of thing, you don't want to have all sorts of crazy modulation effects and all this, that, and, you know, massive amounts of guitar processing on your board, or for that matter even a massive pedal board to be lugging around on tour with you, you know, or setting up on a small stage, because I've done that before. That's pretty horrible when you've got no space, massive pedal board, and you're like, where am I going to stand? So always think about that. Is my pedal board necessary? So for Toseland, because we're doing sort of a classic rock kind of thing, there's not a massive requirement for, you know, all sorts of crazy modulation or, you know, different, you know, effects and that kind of thing. So kept it kind of simple. So going from the Pedal Train 3, I've downsized massively to this cool little thing. So this is my Toseland pedal board. It's basically the side of a futon bed made from oak, so it's nice and sturdy. It was Ben's old futon that he didn't use anymore. So what I've done is I've stuck some feet on it, here and here and here and here, and all I have is my Marshall foot switch from my JVM, a DD3 for some solo delay, and a Wampler Dual Fusion Tom Quayle signature distortion pedal. It does the job, because this is my solo boost, and if I want to add a bit more heat to my tone, I just stomp down or, you know, use that, and then this is just used for when I do a solo, so it sounds a bit more epic. Or if I'm cleaning up a section and I want to add a bit of an ambient vibe to one of the sections in the set. Other than that, I just use this to go between channels. So that's literally all I need. I don't even need a pedal power Voodoo Labs thing. All I've got is a simple daisy chain power cable, and I just use a standard Boss adapter to power these two, and I'm good to go. So for a band like Dorje, where we have many different sections and all sorts of different stuff going on, ambient stuff, a heavily affected, weird, psychedelic parts, the requirement of having more effects is definitely there. So I tend to use the Pedal Train 3 with all the effects, you know, from the Mobius and the Timeline, etc., and the fuzz. And for basically any other project I do, whether it be with Dave and Ben or Dorje, I tend to use something a bit bigger. So my point is, think about what you're actually going to need for the gig at hand. You might not even need anything, you might just go straight into your amp, and that's fine. But what's important to bear in mind is, what do I actually need for this gig? Live tone. For the most part of our lives as guitarists, we sit in our room and we practice our technique, and we practice like all that stuff, sweep picking, squeals, whatever it is, you know. And we dial in a tone that to us sounds really good, because we're sat in our room, it sounds epic, you know, and we use that to inspire us and help us, you know, get somewhere with our playing. However, if we take that tone to a live scenario, or we want to blend with another band, it doesn't really help us out, because you'll find probably that you've got too much gain, you don't have a lot of mids, and there might be some reverb that's unnecessary. What you want to think about is, does my tone mix with the bass player or the rhythm guitarist, or even, you know, the drummer or the vocalist for that matter? Because what you have to remember is the guitar is meant to fill a certain frequency, you know, in terms of drums fill out lots of highs and high mids and a bit of the low end. Bass is obviously your low end. Vocals again is high mids, and guitars are inherently high mids. So there's so much going on in this high mid area frequency wise when you're playing that you don't want to clutter it up with loads of shrieky kind of guitar. And what's funny is pulling the mids out, boosting your treble and gain, is actually more of the harsh end high mids than just having mid-range in your tone. So what I would suggest is, if you've got a valve amplifier, great. If not, then all you need to do is just boost your mids. Valve amplifiers tend to have a lot more presence in mid-range in them inherently because of the nature of the technology. However, for me, I push the mids right up and I have less gain and I pull out some of the low end. Reason is because normally I'll be playing with Dave and he tends to have quite a raspy, kind of punchy, ballsy bass tone. Now, I want to blend really well with that. So I don't want loads of low end because I don't want to muffle up that area for Dave, and I don't want loads of gain because too much gain adds fizz. You know, I just want it to sound barky and aggressive. Now that can be used in, you know, classic rock, or even in, you know, like more like gent nowadays. You know, it's really mid-heavy to get that kind of clunky, kind of barky tone. So have a think about that. In your room, you don't want that much. You just want to have a sweet sounding tone to help you really get somewhere. But in a band, try rolling off the gain a bit, try boosting the mids a bit and rolling off the low end, and see how it sounds. It's a little bit different at first when you're trying to play, but believe me, it will sound better, especially on stage, and especially for a sound tech trying to mix everyone together. Now, this doesn't apply to every style, of course not, but generally speaking, for your distorted tones, push the mids up and back off the gain a bit. As a guitar player, what do I need to bring to the table? I need to be able to be a tight rhythm player. I need to be able to groove well with the drummer. I need to be able to be creative. So there's a huge area that we have to think about as a guitarist or as a musician in a band. You know, be honest with yourselves in your situation. Who writes the most stuff, or who comes up with the first ideas? If you're not the guy with the ideas at first, what you want to do is be open-minded, you know, if you're not the creative person in the group, because you might often find that just having a good strong ear and listening to what's being created and then having your input in the right areas will really add something to the song. If you're the creative type and you're coming up with the riffs, try your hardest to imagine what would go with the guitars, like what kind of drum groove or what kind of bass, you know, line would fit with those guitars. And again, vocal melody. At the end of the day, try and envisage the whole song in your brain, because it'll help your bandmates out if they haven't quite got the vibe yet and you're really feeling it. You don't just want to be playing away on your guitar while they're stood there thinking what's going on. Just go, right, I've got this great idea, play the riff through, go, this is the idea, I'm feeling this vibe on the drums, I'm feeling that vibe on the bass, even play it for them to give them an idea of feel. Because one of the most important things for musicians is understanding the feel of the song. I find that really useful when writing for Dorje or writing in other projects like Chase and Jay in the past, where I've got my guitar idea, but I can hear exactly what I want the bass to do and exactly what I want the drums to do. So I have to play the riff through and explain to them, to Ben and Dave that is, I want this aggressive sound, I want it to be punchy, half-time, you know, open hi-hats, really punchy bass, you know, follow the stabs on the bass, and then maybe you might want to follow this particular part of the guitar riff, again with the drums, punch that cymbal, you know, this kind of thing. Now, sometimes it takes a little bit longer, depending on the nature of the tune. It might be really proggy and throw your drummer off, or it might just be a weird sounding tune with a lot of nifty bits that your bass player might not be good with, or he might be, you know, fine. If he's not, give him a simplified version, so choose the strongest notes in that riff and then get him to play that. and then you might want him to syncopate with the kick drum, because that's quite important for getting a together sound in rock or metal or whatever it is you're playing. Encourage the bass player and the drummer to have a strong relationship, because they are the rhythm section, they're the driving force of the band. They will definitely help give you that vibe and that groove. But again, if you're writing, I can only really speak from a guitarist's perspective in this situation, because I'm probably talking mostly to guitarists, but if you can really hear that song in your ears while you're riffing it out, just make sure you give them some sort of brief to really help them along the way, and you'll probably get to the end result a lot quicker. It's really important when you're writing a song to try and get the bulk of the song there. So get the chorus done first, because the chorus is the hook, the chorus is the memorable part of the song, if nothing else. So, you know, try and get that bit out first, then get your verses and your pre-choruses, and then jam through those, and then think about your middle eight, what you want that to be, how different you want that to be, etc. And then you've got the back end of the song, might be double chorus, might be another section completely, you know, and then your intros and outros. So you want to start in the middle, so to speak, you know, the core, which is the chorus, and then branch outwards until you've got the beginning and the end of the song. So move outwards with it. It's a good analogy when you're writing a tune. Again, think about, for instance, your first verse, the vibe in the first verse. If we want to build momentum, so we've gone first verse, pre-chorus, chorus, and we get to the next verse, we've already built the momentum because we've moved into the chorus now. So we want to bring that over into the second verse. So what can you add to the second verse dynamically, or your riff, or the drummer, or anything like that? What small nuances can you add to give the second verse more momentum, to give the listener a feeling of, yeah, we're really going now, going to the second pre-chorus, chorus, etc. Always adding, every time you repeat a section, whether it be a verse or a chorus or anything like that, just add something a little extra to give the listener something else to hook onto, so they don't just get bored. And if you're doing guitar solo in your song, don't all have it in the high-end shreddy stuff. You want to move between your low notes and your high notes and everything in between, and try and get to the chorus as quick as you can. Now that's not always the case, so believe me when I say this, that for me it's never been a priority, but if you want to write a good, punchy, hooky, concise tune, try and get the hook out as quick as you can, because the listener will really catch on to that. Again, doesn't apply to everyone, doesn't apply to all bands. You might not care about who's listening or anything like that. Especially for me, Ben and Dave, when we're writing our own stuff, there's less thought put into, oh, we need to get a good chorus out, and it's more just about what we feel and how we want the song to go, and how the emotions are sort of portrayed through the music. But again, it's just something there, it's just another tip for you. So, before you go on stage, the kind of things that will help you guys have a better gig: obviously, restring your guitars, warm up your vocals, warm up your hands. So do exercises that will help you warm up, whether that be vocal warm-ups or hand stretches. I tend to shake my hands a bit, I tend to do this kind of thing, and I tend to just generally loosen up the fingers by doing a few bits. And again, one of the things that you might want to do is the caterpillar exercise. This is a great one for guitarists. So it's just 4 frets, 4 fingers. Just that's a useful tip as well for guitarists. Just make sure that you're ready to get on stage. Don't, overdo it on the booze. It depends how you like to perform, but I tend not to drink before a gig. When you're out on stage, doesn't matter who's in the audience, just have the time of your life, because that's why we're doing it, isn't it? That's why we get on stage. That's why we go out and perform our music, because we love it and we don't care what people think. Or at least that's what I think. If someone doesn't like the music I'm playing, then that's not my fault. They just don't like it. I just want to carry on playing what I want to play, and having the opportunity to get up on stage and share my music with everyone else is a privilege, and I'm just grateful for the opportunity every time I get up there. So bear that in mind, remember that it's important to be grateful for having the opportunity to play your music to other people, because not everyone gets a chance. So if you're playing a gig with a Floyd Rose guitar, and your string goes, what do? Because all the strings go out of tune, and what are you going to do? It's really bad. Oh my god. What I would do, roll the volume straight off, switch my channel to a clean channel, because you don't going to have time to run back to the amp and switch off standby. If you do, great, but if not, this is what I do. Go to a clean channel, roll the volume off, pull the cable out, grab my other guitar, plug back in, turn to the distortion channel and rack up the volume and just carry on like nothing happened. Don't even worry, because if it goes, there's nothing you can do. You just got to be quick and just get it done, get it out of the way, and then worry about tuning afterwards. But you just want to finish that song with everyone playing, not just bass and drums and vocal, or rhythm guitar, bass, drums and vocal, because it ain't going to sound good. I hope this was useful for you. Just a few tips and things that I've learned in the time that I've been playing live music, and being in a band. You know, it's a huge responsibility, I guess, being part of a band, if you take it seriously and you want it as a career, because you have to remember that there are so many people out there trying to do this, and we might not all get the opportunity to be that, you know, to get somewhere with it, but you can't worry about that, because if there's any time where you're sat worrying about if you're going to do well out of this or not, then you know you're inviting negative energy into your life. So what I would suggest is just don't worry about it. Love every second. Deal with the peaks and troughs of the bands. Deal with the different attitudes and the ups and downs and all that kind of stuff and the stress. But don't worry about it. Just love playing those songs. Love writing with your mates. Love playing on stage. And best of luck to everyone who's doing this. Whether or not it's to be in a band, whether it's just playing guitar for personal enjoyment, just do it because you love it and don't give up, and you'll get somewhere with it and you'll be happy. Cheers.